Hello, everyone. Well, welcome back again, and hopefully we're going to come forth here with some information here that's going to be useful to you. I want to mention here before I kind of get into the video that when I'm giving information, it is being presented in general terms. It is not leaving anybody out in relationship to their experience that they may be having. And there are always variations and exceptions, as it were, to situations or information I may be giving on a video. So keep that in mind, will you? And also the other thing I'd like you to keep in mind is this, is evolution waits for no one. And no one's belief systems at any particular given point in time. So at this point, if you're finding yourself in a frustrated situation and you're having a great deal of difficulty with your mental, emotional, your physical body, it's probably because you're resisting the process and not wanting to give up control of what you perceive as so important. Just a little side note there. Okay. Title of the video is Dream State Training, Etheric Connections. Now, what I want to do in this particular video is I'm obviously going to be talking about sexuality, sexual energy, and more specifically in this video, sensual sexual connections in the etheric realm. Now, what I'm not going to be doing is what some others might do, and that is give you a whole bunch of racy stories and, get everybody all titillated and wound up and excited and all that kind of stuff. That's not what this is about. What I'm going to try to do is to do this way, and I think this may become important to a lot of people down the road. One of the things that I have noticed, and I've noticed this especially on social media as of late, but it's everywhere at this particular point, is I find as a general rule, people do not respect their sexuality or their sexual energy. They don't nurture it as a general rule. And what happens is it seems to get presented always from the lower chakras. When I perceive and believe that sexuality and sexual energy can be perceived and expressed and done so in a way that, for example, if you were viewing a teacher giving information on a particular topic, that the teacher wouldn't need to be, this could be anybody, not just a teacher, but the person or the teacher could be emanating their sexuality through their personality, through their presentation, through their charisma, as they may have it. They don't need to verbalize it. They don't need to make a spectacle of themselves, and they wouldn't need to necessarily say that they're interested in meeting or connecting with somebody and in the traditional way, getting laid and all of the rest of that stuff that people tend to do. Because I think what's happening is in the dream state right now, the dream state training that's going on, as many of you may have noticed if you've been paying attention to what's going on in the world, is the next big thing that's taken place, and I've mentioned this in countless videos, and here it is, just like I predicted it was going to be, that we were going to make changes in our concepts of love, relationship, and sexuality. And bang, it has gone exactly as I said it would. The love concept first, then we switched in, and we're still in to the relationship aspect of it, and now we're in to the sexuality part of it also. So again, where is this all happening? One of the things that I've been getting a lot of people feedback on is what's going on in their dream state in regards to the expression of their sexuality. And again, I mentioned to you here when you are experiencing excursions in the etheric planes with other beings and people you may know, people you may not know, could be what you might call celestial beings, could be with entities, whatever you choose to put a label to it. And the one thing that I've been getting very, very clearly is the most important thing that seems to be out of the way in these excursions and these experiences is all of the physical restrictions, limitations, belief systems, ideologies, philosophies about sexuality and how you perceive it at a conscious level, how you live your sexuality, and not being aware at this particular point how much that our sexuality, as we know it, experience it, live it, and breathe it, has been influenced, one, by the greater part by religion. The religious indoctrination about sexuality has been going on for hundreds of years. Peer pressure, family, and belief systems of other people around you. So to be quite candid, there are very few people on this planet right now, at the moment, who really and truly are expressing their true sense of sensuality or sexuality in any form that contains respect to it, nurturing it, and also navigating through it to develop the creative abilities that go along with it. Now, what I want to do here at this particular point is mention to you, when you're having these experiences in the dream state, what I've had is a few people come to me and they will say, well, you know, Mel, I'm in a relationship, I'm very happy, etc., 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 but I'm having these excursions in the dream state with other people, some people that I know here in the physical, and I don't even like these people, and various other things like this. And what's happening is because you have all of the limitations eliminated out of, you know, your consciousness because you're sleeping, your imaginative faculty, which so many people are paying so little attention to at this particular point, your imaginative faculty that has been limited by all of your belief systems that have been instilled in you generation after generation, what happens is finally free. And with the guidance of your, I'm going to call it higher self, you can use whatever label that you want, it then begins to free you up. And what do I mean by free you up? It means, since the other part of you, you know, I was going to say the idiot, okay, that most of us live in the physical body, but somebody will get really insulted when I say that kind of thing. We all have an idiot, but we don't like to admit it because sometimes the idiot gets away with us, runs away with us, and does all kinds of stupid things, and then we regret it afterwards. So the idiot has its day and its place, I guess. But I won't use that label because I know I'm going to everybody all upset kind of thing. I mean, I love my idiot. My idiot has been my best teacher. So it's been interesting, to say the least. So anyways, and the other part that I want to mention to you also is the time of sexual abuse that has been going on our planet has become rampant. We're going through stages now where it's coming out in religious institutions. It's now coming out in the general public. We have the Me Too movement, all of which I fully understand what's going on. And this is a cleansing and a purging of the sexual energy, the masculine and the feminine at this particular point. So best, where can this happen? And it's in the dream state, where the situations, now I want to mention something here of this, all right? This is important. I hope everybody is clear on this. The awakening process that we're going through right now pertains to heart center awakening, Kundalini activation, and activation of the sexual energy within an individual. This in turn ignites what I call a process. That process basically is the same. It's the same process for everyone. There's no difference in it. It's the same mechanics, the same process. The difference lies in the fact that based on your consciousness, your belief system, your personality development, the soul group, and also the DNA within your body, physical, you will experience the process that's the same for everyone, that is unique to you and you only. So therefore, what we're going to have is we're going to have a whole pile of people, each and every one of you experiencing differently than the other. So there's no point in arguing with someone else who has, a different experience and say to you, well, you're right and I'm wrong type of situation, because what's happening, it's the same process. So your experience is not going to be the same as mine, and mine is not going to be the same as yours. The trick is to understand the process, what's going on, and take it in as a general format of information that I'm giving you. This is what I'm doing. So all of that sexuality and sexual changes are coming into play, and sexual abuse, as most of you know and will admit to, pretty much has been, what's the word I would use, programmed into pretty much every family on the planet at some point. You may not be aware of it in this generation, but it's there, it's everywhere. So this is coming out also. And sexual abuse, manipulation of sexual energy, controlling sexual energy, all of those forms that have produced a lot of negative backflow reaction in the body physical, such as STD, sexually transmitted diseases, if somebody's going to ask me what that means, is all the creation of these things that I've mentioned. So if this is the case and the sexual energy is our creative power, it is our creative source while we're in the physical. All right, while we're in the physical, sexual energy and Kundalini energy go together, hand in hand. So how can we evolve and grow and become more conscious, more aware, more linked and connected to higher self or the total potential of ourself, unless sexuality, love, relationship, sexuality, just as I've said for the last 5 years, is changing and evolving, and it is right now. So what has to happen is we have to have all of these unique experiences in the dream state training or the dream state experience. In many cases, it will seem wild, woolly, expressive, mind-blowing in its sense. What is it doing? What is it doing is it is changing the whole of our perspective. And because the only place that your higher self, your soul self, can actually be of assistance to you and evolve the lower consciousness, which you are, that's what we are, okay? As we're in the physical and three-dimensional reality, we're in lower consciousness, all right? And that's not being derogatory to anyone. It's a fact. When we go into an altered state, we're moving into the higher states of consciousness, but we're not going to take with us all our old concepts of love, relationship, and sexuality. So what I'm saying to you is a lot of people right now are learning the freedom and the joy, if they will, of expressing totally freely without restriction, without control, without boundaries of the greatest power and source that has been gifted to us, our sexuality, which has been deformed, manipulated, controlled, abused in every possible way, shape, and form that you can imagine. So now we're going to learn to nurture our sexuality, our sexual energy. We're going to learn to respect our sexuality. We're going to learn to love our sexuality and the creative essence that goes along with it. This is going to be a real tricky road for some people because there are a lot of belief systems, ideologies, philosophies, and behavior modules that have been incorporated within our consciousness about our sexuality. So therefore, you can look at it this way. As much as people are in a rush and a hurry to evolve beyond the lower chakras, as it were, right now those lower chakras, believe it or not, are the most important development that goes on. And why do I say that? Okay, and I'll put it to you this way. Most of the people that will probably listen to this video are well acquainted with the Heart Center Awakening. And most of the people who have had a Heart Center Awakening have felt complete lack of control when the Heart Center activated. It activated when it wanted, it did what it wanted. Your personality began to change. You had no control over it. You couldn't manipulate it. It didn't do what you wanted. And you changed, you evolved, begrudgingly in some cases, by gnashing and wailing of teeth. You had no control over it. You didn't know what it was doing. You had no knowledge of where it was going in your body, your mental body, your emotional body, your spiritual body. So what it does and what it did was modified your personality, modified your awareness, modified your consciousness to be didn't have to be perfect, but a reasonably aware personality that some of the other things that can go on. And that was exactly what I talked about, and I've said it years, and I'm going to repeat it as many times as necessary. As a species, to survive, we are going to learn, in some cases the hard way, we are going to change our concepts of love, relationship, and now sexuality. And it's coming exactly as I predicted it would. Love first, relationship second, and now we're into the third. And actually, we're not going by stages, it's overlapping one into the other, but it began, first of all, with love, filtered into relationship, and all of the twin flame stuff and everything else came along with it. And now we're into sexuality, and we're going through a cleanse and a purge. And that cleanse and a purge would seem to be happening by some people, they would say, in three-dimensional reality. No, it's not. What you're seeing in three-dimensional reality is only a manifestation of what's already taken place in the etheric realm through a few people who have reached that level, all right, of dream state training where they have purged, cleansed, and have reached a point in their evolutionary process where they now, instead of talking about their sexuality, they radiate it in combination with the heart center, and it's in their personality, their charisma, the way they present, and they speak about it in a way that I'm trying to do here with respect, with the idea of nurturing it, and how would you say, respecting it in such a way that when you present it, you just feel it, kind of thing. And it's different in the way that you do this, because in the dream state training, what happens is you'll go through all sorts of releases of sexual belief systems, ideologies, and philosophies within you. You'll begin to experiment, all right? And that's how we learn. We learn by making mistakes and experimenting. And we're at the point now with the heart center development, and a lot of people who have come into the relationship concept and they've actually getting it. They're now going into the sexual aspect of it here, and this is what is taking place. And as this continues to happen, what's happened, you're going to see more and more of it filter down and into physical reality. Now, one of the things that I've noticed, and I've had many people mention it to me already, is they're having these experiences in the etheric plane, but they're not necessarily experiencing the physicality part of it, all right? It's like they're experiencing such things as orgasm, and but the orgasm doesn't feel like it's physical, it's etheric in nature. There's no physical manifestation of the etheric orgasm or the etheric experience. There's a reason for that. Because each person is an individual, each person is a universe unto themselves of creativity, talent, and potential. There is no such thing as somebody who is not talented and have potential. There's no such thing. The only thing that prevents it is the blockages that they've inherited by belief systems, input, genetics, hereditary traits, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's all changing. So to release them from the chains that bind them, they find that in the dream state, some of these dream state sensual sexual experiences can be really, as I said, wild and woolly. So what happens is after a period of time, they're going to start filtering down, all right? I've heard many people say, I've heard Mel talk about, sexuality and the etheric planes, but a good old romp in the hay is still my best. The person that says that has never experienced anything in the dream state or in the etheric realm, because I can assure you from personal experience what's in the etheric plane, all right, is far superior to what's here in the physical plane when it comes to sexuality and the expression thereof. This old adage of let's get laid is like two dogs out in the backyard having a good hump, all right? That comes from lower consciousness. That doesn't come from a higher expression of sexuality and consciousness, all right? Getting laid is out. It's way out of context for somebody who's supposed to be aware and aware of their sexuality. Because as soon as you start talking about getting laid, you regress your energies right down to the lower chakras in the primitive state that they were before. So what's happening is you're bouncing back and forth. The dream state will continue in that particular situation. There's nothing wrong with sexuality or being sexual or any kind of sexual experience. It's how it manifests through you in direct relationship to how high you're going to go in vibration in the etheric realm. So what's going to happen is as if all of the sexual abuse is eliminated from physicality, as long as the personal experiences of your own limitations of sexuality. A lot of people think, well, I'm sexually free. Are you? Are you really? Ask yourself that question. Are you really sexually free and liberated? I don't think so. You think you are. But when you start having them in the dream state and you're having them multifold with different beings and entities, as it were, it's different. Oh, and there's another thing that I want to mention here also. You have this magnificent imaginative faculty, all right? And this imaginative faculty does not follow your particular rules and behavior modules. So based on the connection with you and your higher self when you're in the dream state training, the imagination in combination with your higher self can manifest anything that is suitable and necessary to release you from belief systems. So you could be experiencing having a sensual sexual experience with a celestial being. It doesn't mean you're having actual sex with a celestial being. Your imagination can create that for you instantly because there's no limitations on what it can do in the etheric realm. But what happens is you take it as being literal, when in most cases what I found from most people is when you have these connections, it is simply a method or an object or a thing that is created necessary for your personal growth and awareness. So in a lot of cases when people think they're having sensual sexual experiences with a being or entity for some other planetary situation or whatever, it simply reflects back onto a belief system that they may have that has made a, as you would say, translation or interpretation of what took place. We're still not understanding, all right? The imagination in combination with the higher self has no limitations, no restrictions. And it doesn't give a fiddler's fart what you think about it, and it's not going to stop to answer questions. Because what's happening is this, is as the sexual energy becomes purer, or more pure, if that's the right word, or let me rephrase that, as the sexual energy in individuals become less inhibited with limitations, belief systems, ideologies, philosophies, behavior modules, etc., 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 then what happens is the freedom of expression in the dream state training can become more and more. Now, people would say, well, does that mean we're going to have orgies and all? No, don't be ridiculous. That's all three-dimensional stuff, all right? You as a creative being can have a connection with a multitude of people simultaneously at the same time in the etheric plane, all for the purpose of releasing old belief systems in you. And it's all created by you at an imaginative higher self level. I've even had people who come to me and said that they've had these types of experiences and they feel guilty. Why would you feel guilty? You feel guilty because you're reacting to an old belief system you have about a certain behavior you should be doing in your sexual creativity expression, because you've been programmed that way and you believe it, that you're doing something wrong. All right? I keep hearing people all the time say, well, you know, there is no right, there is no wrong. And then when they get into the dream state, then they start saying that, well, I'm feeling guilty because I'm doing this and this is wrong and that's not right. I'm married and I shouldn't be having this connection with this, this being of light in the dream state training, and we're just having all kinds of fun, and I'm feeling so free, so unlimited, and I feel a love connection and all kinds of stuff going on, and then they feel guilty afterwards, and they're like, oh boy, okay. Well, we're getting there. We're getting there, okay? And what's actually going to happen now is we have, and I know this for a fact, we have a few people who now have reached the point where physicality, okay, smell, taste, touch, see, feel, that kind of thing, is now being added into the etheric realm. Now, there might be a handful of people that are at that point, all right? There may be more now, but I know for a while there was a handful. And that's quite an accomplishment, because it means what that handful of people have accomplished is going to go into the collective, and that will be available to others to experience their own personal awakening that will be quicker in that sense, because now they have a template to look at. It doesn't mean they copy the template, Gilan, just in case you're listening. What it means is they participate in the information that's in the collective to manifest their own interpretation of their sensuality, sexuality through their own embodiment at that particular point. I better get a chuckle or get an email from her. So anyways, what happens is, as this is manifesting, like I said, there's probably a handful of people. Now, when I say a handful, I'm probably talking a few 100,000 people. That's a handful to me, all right? Drop in a bucket. But what's also happening is we now have a handful, again, of people who can literally bring the etheric experience down and manifest it through the physical body. And I know a few, a very few, that can do that. And what they've done is they're now emanating sensuality, sexuality in physical 3D form and shape, and are able to do that. And this, again, is going to be added to the collective, and this radiates. Now, if you have a set of, and I'm going to use this term again here, if you have a set of twin flames that can do this, all right, then you have a plus, because what happens is they won't have the limitations that you have in the general population. In the physical, they don't need to be in the same room. They don't need to be in the same country. They don't even need to be on the same planet. And they can actually have what would be called a physical, etheric, mind-blowing experience of sensuality, sexuality, wherever they are, in any form that they choose, and in any creative endeavor that they choose, that would enhance the awareness at this particular point. There are a few who can do that. So this all has the purpose of what I've been talking about in regards to nurturing your sexuality, respecting your sexuality, and exploring your sexuality in the dream state training that goes on. So as it continues, there will be more and more people added to this cauldron, if you will, of dream state experiences. And everything that you have as a sexual hang-up, or an addiction, or something that has been a manipulation, a control, a difficulty, an idiosyncrasy, whatever title you want to put to it, you're going to relive it and re-experience it in the dream state training in the etheric plane to eliminate it from the sexual energy that you are manifesting in your awakening at this point. Now, as I said, the process is the same for everyone. There's no difference. But as the process manifests through an individual, it becomes unique to that individual. And what I will experience in the dream state training in regards to sensuality, sexuality, has been totally different than what many of you will experience. Because we're all unique and we're all a universe unto ourselves. But the process is the same until it reaches an individual and begins to express through them. So I want everyone to keep in mind here, I'm speaking here in general terms, not in the sense of talking to the individual. I'm speaking in general terms here. Don't anybody run off and get in a snit because they feel as though I've, insulted them or, I've taken a pot shot at their sexuality or whatever. I'm not. I'm just giving this in general terms. Okay, is that cool with everybody? Okay. Now, one final thing that I want to mention also, Nicole has asked me to do this, and she has made mention again, she does not like doing videos, and she wants me to mention it to you. And actually, the other thing is we're really kind of busy. I'm doing my avenue of the mission in the way that I need to be doing it, and she's doing the same thing. And we're kind of in different areas altogether, and that way we can accomplish a great deal more. But she did ask me to mention to people that she's now officially doing evolutionary astrology, and she is now open to doing sessions with people in that respect because she's had 6 years of training, and she's had quite a lot of experience in the last little while, and I understand from quite a few people she's done already, she's pretty friggin' good at it. So if you might want to keep that in mind, that information is on our website also. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a great day. I hope the video titillates your fancy. Take care. Bye-bye.